Go live. Love that button. Hey, that's good. You're live. Sweet. You have a mic.
Yeah. It's live now.
Try it. It's live.
Yo, yo.
Find a good
there you go.
to do that.
Yeah.
Love that button. Hey, that's good. You're live. Well, that's picking up from this mic. You have a mic, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's live now.
try it. Like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
The audio is good.
Yeah, I would probably turn off the audio. Yeah, that's probably your computer audio.
Not only just one. So it's not like the audio is
I don't know. That's fine. I'm going to pick up my counter. Let's go to the audio settings.
auto settings here or audio settings.
Yep. Audio.
You wanna do it? Here, I'll leave my phone right here.
Thank you, miss. Check 1, 2. Almost. Hey, yeah. Check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Goodies. Welcome to the Hacker Dojo. Welcome to the Hacker Dojo. Check 1, check 2, check 3. This is a test. This is a test. Check 1, check 2. This is a test. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Thank you for coming to the stream tonight. I can hear you loud and clear, coming through loud and clear. Thank you for bearing with the test. Good evening. Welcome to the stream tonight. Good evening. Progress. No, just that both mics work. That one seemed to work. Check, check, check. What was her name? The young lady? Tatyana. I'll go find Tatyana. But this seems to be working. Should we stop the stream or leave it live?
Let's leave it live. If you can send me a link to it.
Oh, I think it's on your YouTube page. So it's actually easier for you to send me a link. Let's do a race. Invite a friend challenge. I have not been on it yet. So, oh, but if you're Tiana's friend, there you go. So, last thing we should check is that camera feed. Doesn't seem to be live. That'll be awesome. I might have a USB connection. So
I'll check and see if I do. I should. I feel bad.
all right.
Some people I meet this one so far.
Which one person is it?
Yeah. TV startup with screens.
Yeah, probably not today. Order pizzas that can do the video that's not going to be live? No. Why?
He said he's working on the camera. He said the audio's fine, he's working on it.
Yeah, but is there a reason why it's not live in the stream?
Try clicking out of the camera.
Cool. I don't have an extension.
You need an extension cord?
I have a short one.
With a rail editor? Or try studio?
We're going to settings. I'm going to do settings and choose the input. All the way at the bottom.
But yeah, but we're still not getting any video. At least I'm not sure.
What are you Hold on.
It did switch over.
Why is it on? Oh, is it a cover? It's not. The light is on. Usually it's supposed to be a green light.
Or a red light.
It was on just like earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was on screen.
I saw myself.
Want to go in there? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. How we doing? Slack. There. Yeah. That's it.
I'll plug it in because I know which one it should be.
Alright, so it doesn't like the
No, that cable.
well, just checking the whole over here. Should we full view or full camera? Well, yeah. Any further back would be great. Yeah, you can go that way. Might see a little scat, but we got you finally. So, a little pan. Yeah. You want some steak? That's that. I think that might do it. Well, we'll sit in it. Yeah. Sorry, here. Just be a vampire. Alright, yeah, that's right on the edge, but I really want to push you back a little.
Sit in that. Okay, that's not too bad.
Okay. Is this one still like very, very sensitive for distance? Okay. Oh, cool.
For distance, you want to be like.
It's still very, very close, right on top of it.
Tickled by the buzz, but
Okay.
right up to it.
All right.
And then I switch cables to
More computers for the
I don't know if I might. I don't know if I need it, but I'd rather just in case.
This is a test. This is a test. Good evening. Welcome to Hacker Dojo. Good evening. Welcome to Hacker Dojo.
Good evening. Welcome to Hacker Dojo. A little bit closer. There we go. That's good. No, it sounded pretty clear. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we can see everyone and we can tape it.
Awesome.
Just in case. Alright, cool.
Yeah.
Can I get out of your way?
Yeah, thanks. those of you who are up at the. Oh. Sean, did you kill my mic again? Did you kill my mic again?
Yeah, it's muted.
Okay. Here, everyone. This is the one that we're using. Okay.
And it's all up to that one knob. The one big knob is in the room.
Do we have a mark for where we want to put it, like the ideal point?
No. Kind of since both the mics are all the way volumed up, it only gets about a quarter or a third up.
Okay.
So play to them and try to like dial it back.
It's like here-ish.
Yeah, but it seems the mic faders like to be at full volume.
We found that also. We found that out also. And it was like the range that these are work in is like this wide. I'm like, how is this useful?
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. So during your event, what can I do for you?
I think it's supposed to just be monitoring audio and just making sure the stream's running. And then if we have any questions online, letting me know.
Yeah. How should I let you know?
You can text me.
I was thinking, alright, so does the stream have that? Does this monitor here have that? What's it? Stream? I can't go and monitor it on my phone.
What is your name? Do you want to just type it in?
Do we mind just hook up a laptop to it? So that'd be easiest.
I don't have my laptop.
Okay, mine.
Okay, because I have
Yeah.
this community one.
So basically, I work for a company called Enso, and we build security options.
So I was like, oh shoot.
So everything from redaction, and so a developer can basically take one of that code, make it and integrate it into their runtime, their application. And they have a full So, from a marketing standpoint, we are targeting developers. So, part of that is then we have developers.
Is there a particular sequence plan?
Unless you're the tallest person on the panel, in which case you get to be on the end.
What?
Might be.
I will go.
And so our target persona is probably your earlier stage seed series.
Do you need an HDMI cable?
No, just like starting. So the stage, early stage starting. So that persona aligns well with
Here's a HDMI cable.
exactly. And so that's why I'm focusing on this AI.
Yeah, so you're still hearing us.
So,
Put the mics over there though.
I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of people coming in late. So
Yeah, I mean, we could push it back by like 15, 20 minutes. Like, this is up to you. Like,
yeah, we'll probably start. We'll probably start about 15 after. Give people another like 6-8 minutes to filter in and see how many we
how's
get.
the coffee, by the way?
It is brewing right now. Yeah.
Thank God. I
Yeah.
need them. I will refuse. I'm refusing to
That's
speak
fair.
without coffee.
But I was like talking about how OpenAI employees are struggling with immigrant employees are struggling to figure out what they should do.
That's awesome. That's there. You or you run our
95% expected to resign. He's the older place.
Oh yes, of course.
I just don't like
Thanks for coming. Okay. Yeah, we're pushing our start back. Starting it back a little bit. I think everyone did not get the memo that 6 o'clock is like start time.
Yes.
So in the traffic tonight, we're gonna get people filtering in probably till 6:30 at least. So
I think that's very normal of San Francisco.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, it'll be a quick drive down. And I'm like, you did not check traffic.
AI
You got water for everyone.
maybe our meetup.
I'm going to try and get a couple of high tables right behind so you don't like them down.
It's not enough time to make it.
Coffee's going. That's why I got your Dr. Pepper. I'm like, I need a little cat. I need back on myself.
Oh, which one's that? Oh, you found it? Oh, there's It's in the search bar. Just a regular straight.
Hi. Hello, can everyone hear me okay? Great. We're going to be getting underway fairly shortly, so please make your way to your seats, grab any refreshments that you want before we get started. We'll be getting underway in the next couple minutes. And panelists, if you want to make your way to the stage and grab a seat. Oh, Tatyana, can you get a couple of like tall tables for back here?
Yeah.
Do we have any more of those?
What? Excuse me. What did you say?
Oh, sorry, Tatyana, over here.
No. No. Up in the center. No. I will be in the side. I want to be next to the moderator because no.
You want to be far away from the moderator? You want us to chill tonight?
Testing. Is that better? Can everyone hear me at the back? Can everyone hear me at the back? I'll start talking back here. Then here. You probably don't want to be standing at the back. This will be a long panel. I think I am. Won't be the longest I've stood in one place for one time.
Hello? Oh, I saw all your questions.
Where are you, Pat? Is my mic on?
Yes.
I don't need this one. All right, thank you all for braving the traffic to come out here tonight. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. My name's Eric Hess. Am I clipping? All right. My name's Eric Hess. I'm the executive director here at Hacker Dojo. So a warm welcome to all of you who haven't been here before. Really appreciate you coming out and supporting us. This mic is cutting in and out. Is it me?
No, it's me.
Okay. So we're going to do introductions real quick as we get underway. Please, if you have questions, definitely hold on to them. We'll have a couple of breaks for audience questions along the way. Our rough schedule tonight is going to be talking about the job market of today, the job market of tomorrow, and then some speculative discussion about what may or may not happen in the not so distant future. So we're going to start off with some introductions. Let each panelist introduce themselves to all of you. So if you're not familiar with who they are, this should give you a quick little heads up. And let's start on the end with Natalia. Put you right on the spot.
Thank you so much, Eric, for the invitation, and thank you so much for coming. And so my name is Natalia. I'm a neuroscientist by background, and for the past 6 years I was occupied with analyzing the job market, initially for STEM PhDs like myself, but then I noticed that the job market is not only moving but also transforming very fast, and I started analyzing the current and possible future state of the job market in times of AI. That's also why I'm here. So I made the trip all the way from Europe to talk to people like yourself, innovators, founders, visionaries, to learn more about the innovation coming from here, from the cradle of AI, and to learn more about the job market, and maybe learn something for the future and be better educator, how people self-navigate in the job market better. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia, and thank you, Eric. Wonderful to be here at Hacker Dojo. Lovely to see you all here this evening. My name is Alexander Coward. I spent my early life as a mathematician, doing mathematics, teaching, and research, and so forth. And then I left academia around 2016 and set up an education company that was doing sort of in-person classes in people's living rooms and office hours in coffee shops and so forth, that was absolutely crushed by COVID. And that sort of caused me to sort of think again, and now I'm working on a new company called Decentralized Internet Technologies, and we're building something which is a little bit like, you can imagine something like Google Docs, where you can interact in real time, and the data is on my laptop and on your laptop, but not in a server in the cloud, and you've got full custody of the data. And we use AI every single day to do all kinds of things, including writing code, and not just simple code, but technical pieces of code, chasing down bugs, editing existing code. It's absolutely amazing, absolutely transformative for the work that we do. And yeah, looking forward to discussing this a whole lot more this evening.
Great. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having me. My name is Vidal Graupera, and I'm a software engineer by training. I love to create products. I've worked at a lot of different companies. I've had my own startup, and right now I'm working on a project to help job seekers prepare for interviews at a website called interviewigniter.com. I have also written several books on preparing for job interviews and job seeking, which you can find online. And in June I left LinkedIn. I was working at LinkedIn for about 3.5 years, so I'm very interested in this whole space of jobs.
Mm-hmm. Hello everybody, my name is Tatyana. I'm an entrepreneur from Ukraine. I'm here for 3 years in the United States. According to the United States Department of Homeland Security, I'm the individual with extraordinary ability. I founded 3 companies. First company I launched 2 times. It stands COVID and 2 wars in my country. This is the International Exam Preparation Center. So we prepare students for international exams like TOEFL, SAT. So for example, last month we prepared 36 students for TOEFL with the score over 100, and they entered Columbia University. The second company I founded in San Francisco with my amazing co-founder. We help talents from India to secure their jobs in the San Francisco Bay Area companies with the salaries of $250,000 and more. I love this job, and this year I signed more than 100 partnership agreements with my Indian partners. And the last company is a non-profit organization that helps Ukrainian veterans and their kids. Well, some facts about me. I'm a swimmer. I wrote 3 books. I will share with you. So also, I have a medical background. I used to be a surgical nurse and accountant. So just I have a like versatile background, but yeah, I do sales and I'm a founder. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalia, for inviting me, and Eric for having me, and all of you for sharing this time together. I'm Atal Agarwal. I moved to US 6 years ago. I went to IIT in India, and then I came here to do my master's. I tried my first startup, didn't work out. Then I took my first job as a product manager. I have worked for a few companies as a product manager, including eHealth, Castlight Health, Business Solver. Now I'm building a company called as Immigrant First. And Immigrant First is inspired by my personal journey. Last year when I lost my job and I got 60 days on my tech, as a tech employee, I just thought this is a lot of struggle and people should not struggle. And I was using GPT-4 for writing my own petition. And that's where I was like, okay, we can scale it into a product. So I started building that out. And now we have 150 immigrants and 5 lawyers helping immigrants through our platform. So it's like a platform where it's like an AI-powered marketplace for immigrants specifically. Yeah, other than that, I like running, swimming. During my 60 days period, I ended up running an Ironman race with no training. So because I was just like, okay, let's go back to India and just do everything you want to do and live your dreams. So I feel like I make a lot of moves like that. Very excited to be here and sharing this time with you all.
Go ahead and leave that one on, and we'll just pass it to the different panelists. All right. So obviously we're all here tonight to talk about AI, and with as quickly as it's accelerated in the recent year, and particularly in the last few months, we're really at a critical time, and we're starting to see really profound impacts across the job market in every demographic as AI comes in and augments jobs or replaces jobs or shifts how people interact with work and how they accomplish tasks. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics tonight. But we're going to start out tonight talking about which professions we believe are going to be the most impacted by AI in both positive and negative ways. And so Vidal, if you don't mind starting off and leading this discussion.
Thank you, Eric. I think AI is going to obviously help a ton of people. One obvious opportunity is like consultants, right? For like AI, machine learning, that's like a huge business right now. It helps anyone who needs to create stuff. If you're an entrepreneur, great opportunity, right? AI can help you do so much more. If you create anything, you know, any kind of content, any kind of stuff, AI just is a huge multiplier. And, you know, AI also, interestingly, helps people who are less skilled even more than the highly skilled people, right? So it really helps bring all these people up. So I can't think of any job that any kind of information job that AI cannot help. I think when people talk about maybe hurting it, maybe they're worried about maybe they might lose their job to it. But I think anyone who is in the process of creating, you know, any kind of white collar work, AI can certainly help you be better. And do it better and easier.
Natalia?
Could I add something?
Yes, absolutely.
First thing, I'd like to just mention that on the boards in the back of the room, we have QR codes to all our panelists' projects. So it would be very nice if after the panel you check it out, because it's super interesting startups by our distinguished panelists. So I would encourage you to check it out. And to refer to this question, my feeling is that the AI is creating this, so it transforms all the jobs, but in to an unequal extent, and it creates this interesting interesting situation where when we look at the spectrum of all professions, from the ones that are the most like traditionally blue collar to the like, let's say, office jobs that are easy to automatize, that are, let's say, soft white collar jobs, toward really highly specialized white collar jobs. So like from the least, let's say, intellectual, in parentheses, to the most intellectual, then the ones in the middle of the spectrum are getting automatized the fastest, right? So traditionally logistic jobs, accountancy, consulting, and that creates also this situation where many of these jobs are actually traditionally occupied by women more than men. So women are actually, that's one group that is that might be affected more in the future. So that's one, that's one situation that's potentially going to happen. And actually, when I first encountered ChatGPT, I have to say that I started exercising more, because I thought to myself, who knows, maybe lumberjack will be the last profession standing, so maybe better to take care of myself just in case. Because as a matter of fact, no one really knows what will happen to blue collar to white collar jobs in the future. What do you guys think?
I'd also like, if anyone wants to weigh in on impacts on blue collar jobs. We are going to talk a lot about white collar jobs tonight, but there are other professions that are going to be profoundly impacted. So if anyone wants to also weigh in on that as they're answering.
Thank you. The microphone has landed with me. I'd be curious to take the temperature in the room. Obviously everybody here is interested in AI and the impacts of AI. How many of you would say you feel excited about AI? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool. How many of you would say you feel worried about AI? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, some people. Anybody got any different feelings that you feel about AI?
Anyone with existential dread?
Existential dread. Yeah. Ambition. How many of you feel ambitious, personally ambitious about AI? Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Oh. Hello? No, I'm not. I think I. Hello? Am I back? I'm back. So I have a bunch of stuff I want to say, but I wanted to, because I'm an academic, I decided to cite my source. So I've got a book that is my favorite book. I think this isn't working. Uh-oh. It's off. But you can hear me, right? Yeah. So I'll speak a little louder. So this is one of my favorite books, which is by Erich Fromm, called Escape from Freedom. And I want to read you an extract, and your challenge is, when was it written? Okay? This is from the foreword to the second edition. Aside from the nuclear revolution, the cybernetic revolution has developed more rapidly than many could have foreseen 25 years ago. We are entering the second industrial revolution, in which not only human physical energy, man's hands and arms as it were, but also the brain and nervous reactions are being replaced by machines. In the most developed industrial countries, such as the United States, new anxieties develop because the threat of increasing structural unemployment. Man feels still smaller when confronted with the phenomenon not only of giant enterprises, but of an almost self-regulating world of computers that think much faster and often more correctly than we do. When was that written? 1995. Yeah. That was 1965. There you go. So that was what? How long ago was 1965? That's 6 years. A long while ago, right? Yeah. The threat of increasing structural unemployment. Where is it? Where's the structural unemployment? Anyway, that's what I have to say on.
That's really great. I love history. To answer your question about blue-collar jobs,
no, you're good with technology.
I don't know. I'm just lucky. I have luck with technology. So
the Mike AI just didn't like what you had to say.
Yeah. So But you're right. Like I looked at the unemployment numbers just before coming into it, and it's 3.9%. Like it's not like 20% like everyone's afraid of. So it hasn't hit yet. If it's going to hit, but Eric, you asked about blue collar jobs. Obviously, an obvious one people talk about is like taxi cab drivers, Uber drivers, truck drivers. Right, that's being automated right now. Like in San Francisco, there's self-driving cars and self-driving trucks running through the Midwest. If anyone wanted to add.
I would say there is a saying like change is inevitable. Like we cannot avoid it. There is just no way out of it. What is the book from famous book Be Water, which is like go and be water. Just move with the change. I was just thinking about this over the last 3 days and how things have gone with OpenAI and Sam Altman. And if you just look at it today, I was seeing the status and like Twitter posts from all people like Mark Benioff and all. And what they said is, if you are an OpenAI employee, send me your CV at CEO at Salesforce, and we will give you everything that OpenAI has given you. If you think of this from a trend perspective, this company decides to hire every one of those 700 employees without asking any question. This means there are no jobs going away here, There is a company who is demanding the talent they have without any questions. While then there are the other side where the struggle for jobs is real and people are looking for jobs. So it always comes down to this supply and demand game. These people who are OpenAI employees, they are top researchers, they are working on something which the world wants right now, because they're on the other side, there are ChatGPT users who are paying for it. So Salesforce want to be on the top of the game, and that's why all this demand is there for ChatGPT, all this demand is there for this talent, while everyone needs this talent, and while on the other side, the demand is decreasing. So the question about where the demand is decreasing, and the demand might be decreasing when we look at our own lives on a day-to-day basis, where you were seeking the guidance of an expert, but you are no longer seeking the guidance of that expert. And those answers, we all know what are those answers. If you were seeking the guidance of a lawyer for everything before doing everything, and now you are like, I'm happy to take the risk myself, then that tells you a new trend that, okay, there is a demand for a lawyer that is decreasing. If you see the trend for a doctor where you are asking the questions to ChatGPT and you feel satisfied with the answer provided by ChatGPT, then the demand for a primary care doctor is decreasing. So all those questions that you are asking to ChatGPT and you are feeling satisfied are the things that are changing, while the questions which answers you are not satisfied, those jobs are still not changing.
Kind of on that note, let's talk about in the world of AI that we are today, how you navigate those job changes, because obviously most of us aren't fortunate enough to have Microsoft or another organization offer to hire us, no questions asked. So there's tremendous challenges across the job market. Let's talk about how AI can assist some of the professionals, both in the room and outside, navigating that job market. And Tatyana, if you want to begin.
Yeah, sure. I think in order to stay afloat on the job market, so employees have to focus on metrics and results and impact. When you create your CV, what you mention in your CV, you don't mention that you didn't mention the process, but you mentioned the impact, right? So I think that when we're focusing on these key metrics and you show your employers the impact that you've done, it's always valuable. For example, in my company, we use AI every day, like 5-8 hours a day. I forced all my employees to use GPT chat paid version, like GPT plus. also, I push all my family to use GPT-4. My godfather, who is 60 years old, can use DALL-E 3 and create video and images and even articles, everything. So, so in my company, I didn't fire anybody because of AI era and usage of GPT. Why? Just because if the person brings value to my company, earn money for the company, so there is no need to fire this person. So this fear of being fired, maybe it's because of the person who is fired is not competitive anymore. So it's just think about that. Why why this happens? Could you help me?
Could you remind the question again?
Yeah, let's talk about ways that AI can help professionals navigate the current job market and their careers in particular.
Okay. A question, how many people here are navigating the job market now? Okay, much better. So here's a question to think about. When you're navigating the job market, what is it that that you really want? Is it that you want money? Is it that you want a sense of belonging? Is it that you have a vocation? Is it that you want to sort of elevate your position in society? And I think if you look at navigating the job market, the decision you make in regard to that question really determines how you should navigate it. So for example, when I left academia in 2016, I was absolutely broke, right? I lived in a garage. I remember one year I paid myself $10,000 for the year. The next year I gave myself like a big raise and I paid myself $11,000 for the year. I mean, I drank Soylent every day. It really sucked. But I was a startup CEO, you know what I mean? Right? Nobody told me what to do. It was my garage. And so I'd sort of made this very lopsided choice. I'm going to go 100% all out for like autonomy and control and status and everything, and I'm going to massively deprioritize money. And I think that what's happened in today's job market, particularly in Silicon Valley, is that a lot of jobs have both money and social cachet. And these are, so for example, software engineering jobs and so forth. So, maybe you could make more money as a plumber than being a software engineer, right? Right? How do you feel about that? You go to a party, what do? I work for Google. I'm a software engineer at Google, right? Feels kind of good, right? You go to the same party, what do? Oh, I'm a plumber. Maybe the plumber makes twice as much money as the software engineer, right? Which would you rather be, right? So I think I don't know if for any individual, I don't know what the right choices are, but I had this driving instructor once who was really, really wise, and he told me, whatever you want in life, you can get. You can get what you want. So if what you want is money, you can find money. If what you want is the hallmarks of success, right, then you can find that too, right? But the trouble is that, as my dad told me, life is filled with choices. So that's my answer.
Could I add some? Let me offer some more. See, now I lost my magic touch. There we go. Maybe some tactical things you could do if you're navigating the job market, because there's a lot of tools now for job seekers. You've probably seen them online, or you can just use ChatGPT and make a really nice resume, nice cover letter, all those materials. Not everyone's doing that yet. A lot of people are, so you might as well take advantage of it while it's still a competitive advantage to do it. Certainly if other people are doing it and you're not, you're at a disadvantage. So take care of all those tools. There are lots of tools also online that can help you do career coaching, lots of tools to help you learn and study things to improve your skills. I think something could come more and more in the future. But at some point, all that is going to be, like, everybody's going to have it, right? Everyone's going to have the perfect resume, the perfectly optimized LinkedIn profile, the perfectly whatever those collateral materials are. So when that happens, I would just say one of the key things about job searching and navigating career marketing is networking, okay? Knowing people, because people hire people. So I think it's very important to network, and you're going to work more on the human skills, okay, potentially.
Natalia?
Yeah, I would like to relate to what Vidal and Alex were talking about, because I'm getting impression that the market is now flooded with these AI copilots for career development, right? There is a myriad of apps of all kinds, but the one thing that no app can do for you is self-discovery. So you have to know your competitive advantage, and you have to know where your flow states are, you have to know what your core competencies are, you have to know where you fit mentally in the job market, which tribes, which work environments, what is your natural working style. No app can really do it for you. You have to do the heavy lifting, and self-discovery process takes time. And what is good for you might not be good for your colleague who has technically the same skills but has just different mindset. So it's really a long process, and don't rely in 100% of these on these AI driven solutions, because at the end of the day you have to really have a lot of insight into your own mind, and yeah, it's a hard work that only you can do for yourself. And obviously it's always good to use other people around you and your environment as a mirror, just to better reflect on yourself. But at the end of the day you have to really look into your own inside, how you call it in English. Anyways, you have to look into, you have to spend that time with yourself, and and then navigate based on that.
Natalia, you want to add also, if you want to talk to the more international approach of how people, immigrants in particular, can navigate these challenges as well?
Definitely. So the way I look at it is like, there is this saying, perception is reality, and perception is like what people think of you. And there is this theory of action and reflection. And when you take action, you see something, and you are like reflecting on it, that whether this is working or this is not working. And being in this cycle of action and reflection and then making the changes will get you move quickly and forward in the direction you want. This is great in theory, but now this is how you can implement it. So the way when I started thinking about this idea, startup idea that I'm talking about, I was very hesitant to talk about it with people. So first I learned how to talk about it. And every time I will talk to a new person, I will see their reaction, and I will go back and I will say, how can I improve it the next time? And next time I will pitch it in a different way, and I will see their reaction. I have sold this idea into thousands of ways by now, by just changing how I was presenting myself. And this presentation matters, because what we have to think about is look at everything from the other person's perspective. You find this person on the other side, you are like, okay, what they might be going through, now how I can turn it so that I make it easier for them. Let's say there are all these AI co-pilots in the market who are like, hey, find a job, find a candidate and all. Now there is the other side, which is there are only fewer jobs, and they are getting thousands of resumes every day. Now out of 1,000 resumes, 900 not gonna be even read. And you are spending time on working on your resume and spending like writing the right things. I mean, that's not gonna make you move forward from that 900 to 901. If you find someone in real life, then you at least get that one chance of encounter, which is one step better than sending a resume online. So I never got a job by applying online. I just lost hope in that process, because I was like, this never converts. And for immigrants, there is this question that they have added, which is, do you require H-1B sponsorship? And when you answer that question as yes, then your resume is out in the dustbin. So I learned early in the process, this approach just doesn't work for immigrants. So immigrants, you have to get creative. And okay. Yeah, maybe at the higher level, once you are far in your career, maybe it still works out. But I learned in the early that, okay, this approach of applying just online doesn't work out very well for me. Then I started creating more of the community approach, because when you go to someone else who has faced the problem, they likely knows a way out of it. And I started reaching out to people like that, And once they started giving me time in person, and I realized that their time is valuable, they have a job, and I'm looking for a job, and they're giving me time, that is one step forward in the direction of getting a job. And I kept booking all these meetings all the time. The whole day I was on meetings, 30 minutes. I will do some research about what they're working on, ask them really good questions. And then over a period of time, I just saw that those opportunities started to converge, and I started getting more and more offers. So it's like a sales funnel in a way, but yeah, to approach it, I think doing in-person is helpful, doing networking is very helpful, and trying to book meetings as the first process, and trying to book time and get like in-person time.
Alex? These are all terrific comments, and I agree with everything that's said. But I have one thing to say as a counterpoint. How many people here would describe themselves as technical? Right? And if I was in your shoes, you would not be able to keep me away from learning deep learning. Right? Like, if you're worried about the impact of AI, my goodness, like, it might take a bit of time. It's not that hard, right? If you know Python and you've got a bit of math background, don't be afraid, not that hard. There's a video on YouTube by a chap who was, at least until recently, at OpenAI. I wish I could remember his name. Andrej, I can't remember his name. It's a 2-hour video, and it's about, he makes right in front of you something kind of like ChatGPT, but the input is all of Shakespeare, and at the end of the process, he produces basically infinite Shakespeare. And it's like it's a character by character rather than by token model. And it takes 2 hours and the whole thing is built. And so that's, if you're interested in, if you're an engineer and you're like, I'm worried about AI writing all the code that I'm writing, don't be afraid. This has happened throughout history. The people who run the fastest towards the new technology, without hesitation, without worrying about it, it's like being a shipbuilder in Elizabethan England, right? Those people are on top because the ships needed to be built in order to defeat the Spanish Armada, right? So if you knew how to rivet those bits of wood together, then you're in a really good shape. And this has happened again and again and again. Just don't be afraid. If you're technical, just go and learn deep learning, and then you can shortcut all of this stuff, because then everybody's hiring deep learning engineers. If you just put deep learning engineer at the top of your resume and here's something I've built, you can be an asshole, you can be, poorly socially adjusted, if you can write the code, you can write the code, right? So there's everybody, there's an escape chute. Okay, that's what I want to say.
Please don't be an asshole, and please, we definitely want,
I have zero experience and knowledge in coding, but with the help of GPT-4 and knowledge of English, we coded a chatbot that can communicate with 10,000 Indian guys simultaneously, like per day. But the question was, like, the problem is not to create this chatbot. The question is to create the right prompt to enforce this chat works as you want, to create a persona. Like, the initial idea was to clone me, because I do sales in India with checks of $5,000, $8,000 with the help of my business partners. And the idea was to clone me, like many Tatyanas that chat with Indian talents. And we faced the problem, that we cannot create the persona, create the right prompt. I face the problem that I cannot formulate what I want. And that's really the challenge of humanity, because now we have to learn how to ask right questions, because AI is a magic tool that can help us. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think you were hinting at it earlier. I think one of the things that I'm a career advocate, head of talent for a company. What are your thoughts about embracing AI technology for just the average non-technical professional? I mean, as in the recruiting space, I would say
that I've not necessarily used. I think those more gimmicky. But I would say now, I'm definitely embracing it, right? And I'm adding that to my resume. So again, it's embracing AI tools in your profession.
Let's add on to that. Well, I'd love to have a conversation about how education is going to need to shift to as we embrace AI, and how learning modes are going to dramatically shift, and some of the key ways that we can educate ourselves in different ways and take on new knowledge. So yeah, if you want to take lead on that, Alexander.
Thank you. So to answer your question, I'm going to answer this question and this question. The question is a great one. If you're in a company, you're providing leadership in a leadership role in a company, how do you respond to AI? It's the best thing ever. And the way to look at it is not, oh, we can reduce the size of our team. No, we can just go 100 times faster. Isn't that awesome, right? AI is a massive increase in productivity, right, across almost every industry, and not just ChatGPT, but not just these language models, but in so many different things. Doesn't matter what you're building, you can optimize things so quickly. I saw an article that they figured out how to make oxygen on Mars using some specially trained model, using the materials that are already there to make the catalyst, right? Think about how amazing that is, like oxygen on Mars, right? And if you sort of look at a new technology as a threat, it's just the wrong way to, it's not to say that there's no dangers, but if you just think it's a product, we can get so much more done on the same resources. You don't need to change your team, and it's how can we get everybody to work 10 times faster? If you have that attitude as the leader of a company, you're just going to outcompete the competition, because you've got the right idea. We've just it's a bit like those speedy boots that the marathon runners have just got, and the new. All these marathon records are going down and getting broken because they've got these special new. Anyway, on the question of education, oh my God, what it would be like to be 15 now. Oh my God. Oh, it'd be amazing. I mean, I used to think, when I was a teenager, geeky kid learning math, I'd go to the local public library and I'd see what they had available, and some dusty book from the 1960s, and I'd take it home and try to understand it, and now I can watch IMO problems in real time on YouTube, and that was great. And now, oh my God, the speed with which I can learn stuff. It's so fantastic. And I'd say I'm learning so much faster about so many different things, about one thing after the next after the next. Stack Overflow. Who needs Stack Overflow? I mean, who needs Google? This thing knows everything. And the amazing thing is it gives me feedback too, right? I say here's some code. Do you have some commentary on my code? And it's like having this tutor. I mean, it's all day, every day learning. And I think that so that's a given. What's the thing that it doesn't give us? The thing that doesn't give us is community. And so, I agree. You shouldn't be an asshole, by the way. But my point is. I take that back, basically. But if you have a very, very sort of powerful tool that is individualized, that has a tendency to isolate us, right? We all have our own YouTube feed, right? That's our own special YouTube feed. When I was at school, it was what was on the TV last night. And now we all watch our own scheduling. And it's the same with these different things that you can learn, right? We've sort of individualized learning so much, which is great because it's tailored to me. It's exactly what I want to learn, exactly at the level at which I want to learn it, but now I'm all alone. And so I think the real challenge that we are going to be facing, not just over the next few years, but over the next century, particularly as other technologies come along like virtual reality, is how do we embrace this reality that can show us something that is just for us and not lose touch with each other. And I think that it's a little bit like when there's more ice cream available, we have to be more deliberate about our diet and exercise. And I think as the tools that are being made available technologically to us personally through a screen are becoming so much more yummy and rich and brilliant, we're going to have to be so much more deliberate about maintaining our sense of sort of social sanity so that we don't become sort of atomized. So, dinner with friends, being deliberate about trying to learn something together rather than learning it on your own. And we're going to really have to make an effort because it's like the ice cream in the freezer, right? It's just so yummy and so addictive that you have to counterbalance it.
I'm going to take a minute here to plug Hacker Dojo as a place that is primarily community oriented. So if you want a place to come together and hang out and meet people who are solving the same problems or going through the same struggles, please do come out and join us. That's my one plug for the moment.
Yeah, let me just add to what you said. So I agree with you. I have kids, and many of you have kids, and lots of times my kids would be like, why have to learn about the ancient Samaritans or Sumerians or whatever, right? And school is not just about the facts, okay? When you go to school, it's to learn teamwork, socialization, being with other people. It also gives you tremendous confidence, So I think that's something that's very important. So yes, we're going to have great personalized instruction. You can have amazing tutors. AI can explain everything to you, but part of school is not just learning the facts. It's being with your classmates and learning how to work with them. So I think that's very important. Yeah, and so.
Learning to me comes down to curiosity. Like a lot of times when I was even in school, I realized I was learning things for the sake of learning, but that did not add up anything to me. But whenever I was curious and I went with my own intentions about something which I just never cared about or just was something new, I just got into it, and that helped drive my knowledge forward. So, I mean, everyone here is now on a Monday evening, which tells that there is already an intention of learning, because out of this, I don't think you are not gonna like get any result immediately, but it is an intention of learning which everyone here is here together. And that is like being at the frontier of knowledge, and that's like seeker of knowledge. And though education plays a role in a lot of ways in our upbringing, once college is over, it comes down to on our own to actually keep chasing that frontier of knowledge, keep going forward and seeking new information from the world. And I feel like this is by itself a great platform where everyone is chasing that new knowledge about what is happening in the world, why this is right and why this is not right, and what is wrong and what is right, and defining our own sense of that knowledge. And I think the most important thing does remain as seekers of knowledge and continue to find that truth that does not exist and we do not know about, and we continue to push forward. And the more we push forward, the more we become experts at the top of that knowledge, and that knowledge gets rewarded by the society in a lot of ways going forward.
I'm the founder of the International Exam Preparation Center, and what I see that all my teachers use AI every day. All my students use AI every day. Have the entry exams into US universities changed? No. Maybe they became even simpler. SAT exam became simpler, TOEFL became simpler 2 times. And anyway, just the brain capacity stays the same, right? So we cannot perceive more than we can. Of course, I agree with you that now we have unlimited opportunities and the knowledge on the surface. Go to YouTube, go to any courses, Coursera, anything, learn something, but the capacity is limited. So I just want to say that we haven't changed anything with the appearance of AI. The workflow of education stays the same. But maybe in 50 years, it somehow changes, who knows? Thank you.
Natalia?
Natalia?
Is this about education? I wanted to add something.
Yeah, just a little thing to add. I think, indeed, referring to the previous speakers, indeed the opportunities for learning and education has exploded right now, so that's a great outcome. But I think one potential pitfall of the education system right now is that since the job market is moving so fast, we don't really know what to learn, right? What will be the scope of professions in 10 years from now, or even 5 years from now? So historically, a few decades ago, we used to, like, as 18 or 20-year-olds, we had a picture. Okay, what do we enjoy doing? What are we good at? Okay, I will be a carpenter. I will be a professional athlete. I will be a whatever, like what else are professions that were existing back then. Like, so we had a plan, right? And that was relatively stable over a lifetime. Like, changing professions was quite uncommon. Today we cannot even plan ahead for like 5 or 10 years. So I think the main problem of young people today is motivation, right? So if you cannot create long-term goals or dreams, how are you motivated to learn today, right? What is your so like Generation Z is actually known to be quite confused and demotivated, and that's one of the reasons, because without having that Northern Star metric, that dream, and without knowing what the future will bring, then it's really hard to learn anything today, even though you have all these options, right? But still, you ask yourself, why? What do I need it for? Like, what do I get out of this in the long term? And you might be like thinking, okay, well, if I don't know what the future will bring, then the best thing is to do what I enjoy and just try to be good at it. But it's obviously not all that simple, because most young people, if they could choose any profession, they would like to be a YouTuber, right? Like, there was research on this, and in Great Britain, and 57% of all the young people in high school, they would choose to be a YouTuber or a podcaster. So just pursuing your dream is like, or pursuing your passions is not enough. So that's the big question. And I honestly, in my practice as a career advisor and career strategist, I have I encounter lots of excellent people, excellent professionals, very talented, who struggle with motivation primarily. It's not about money for them. It's about, how do I create a plan? What do I aim for if I don't know what will come tomorrow? Yeah.
Could I add one more thing to the topic of education? I think is very interesting. Is, you know, in way back in human history, right? It was more like an oral tradition. And we went to reading and writing. If you notice, classical school is a lot about reading and writing. You get a book on some topic, you write something on the topic, you answer questions on the topic on paper. And this is one thing that the large language models do very well, is reading and writing. So I think these kind of reading and writing assignments, you know, because we've all talked about it, right? You want to find out something, you go to YouTube, right? Like, my kids don't like to read anymore. They just go to YouTube. Like, I want to learn how to fix something, I don't read a manual, I go to YouTube, right? So I think we're going more in an era where education is going to be more visual and stuff, because people just don't like to read as much. And I mean, I've written books, and I can tell you, I think people don't like to read as much. I love to read, but I think it's a dying thing.
I want to actually add on to that and pose a bit of a question about what professions we think were going to disappear. I had to write a grant this past week, and it took me 30 minutes because I had ChatGPT write it for me. So a grant writer just unfortunately became unemployed or unemployable because of that change in the writing and the ability to do a lot of that bulk work and the streamlining of a lot of those more, you know, mundane or rote tasks that normally, you know, might be copy paste. Now I get a customized copy paste. So let's spend some time speculating about what like major changes we're going to see and what professions we think will disappear as we, you know, go into the next 5 or 10 years, and, you know, as we, you know, kind of go through a renaissance of how we're teaching and learning, what's going to go away? Tatyana, you want to start that one since you have the mic?
Just a couple of thoughts, if you just allow me. I think that 3-5 years, it's just too short period of time for professions to to be vanished from the earth. Because it takes time to form the profession. That's why we cannot predict that. It's kind of speculation on who will be the president of the United States in 100 years. So we don't know what happened. So for me, it's too short. And just I heard somebody told that copywriters or grant writers, something disappeared. I would disagree, because Apple still hire designers and pay more than $100 per hour. Companies still need copywriters, artists. They are in demand. I used to live in a couple of houses in San Francisco, which cost like $2 million, $5 million, and the owners of these houses, they have pictures on the walls. These pictures are not AI generated. They created by humans. So human touch, human spirit is still in value. So creators, artists, visual arts, they will survive. It's more about, maybe it will be like we don't need more assistant to create something. We need more decision makers. For example, AI with 1 minute can create 100 pictures, DALL-E 3, for example. But it's your choice to choose, pick and choose the picture you want to place on YouTube, what text you want to place in your article. So it's more about decision making, choice, and human touch as well. And one more thing about education, I think that in the future we will pay more for human being to teach us. The access to knowledge online will be free of charge or for less money. Like it's available right now. But if you want a personal tutor, so please pay for this.
Thank you.
Did you?
Pardon me?
Sound like you wanted to say something.
I did want to say
Yeah,
something.
go for it.
Yeah. So the question was about professions. Thank you, Tatyana. So you might have picked up that I'm the optimist here, or one of the optimists. And I think it will be amazing for every profession, for everybody, because it's a boost in productivity, right? So yes, you can write your own grant, but think about a professional grant writer armed now with AI, right? So the quality of the thing that you can do on your own has gone massively up, and also the quality of the thing that the grant writer can do has also gone massively up. So what we've got is just that the quality of this particular thing, grant writing, for everybody has gone up, the cost of producing it has gone down, and this applies to literally every single thing. Every single industry, every single profession, every single good, every single service. The costs of production are going to go down. The abundance of this stuff, especially services, is going to go massively up. And the anxiety is, oh my goodness, maybe we'll just run out of stuff to do. Well, if you look at the graph of GDP per capita in the United States since the United States was founded, it looks like a pretty clear exponential graph like this in real terms. It just turns out historically we have an almost, it seems, insatiable desire to consume more goods and services. I can prove it. Hands up here who would like to have a little bit more money? Right? Would you like to have a slightly bigger house, a slightly nicer car, maybe a second car? Maybe you'd like to go out for dinner every breakfast, lunch, tea, and dinner, right? I mean, just would you like to have a personal massage therapist? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. We're absolutely insatiable, right? So the idea that we're somehow going to run out of stuff to do, I mean, it seems crazy. And we don't just want more stuff, we want better stuff. Like if you gave me the phone that I had in like 1998, I would not be very impressed with this phone. My standards have gone up. I think it's just going to, so every profession is going to be producing more and more and more better stuff, and the costs will go down, and we'll live richer, fuller lives with more goods and services available to us, a great abundance.
Vidal? Okay, well, let me debate that with you some. So I am very optimistic about humanity and AI, but to your point, Eric, the cost of writing a basic grant application, not the one, the super awesome, the basic one, is not going to go down. It's going to go to zero. The price of that is zero, okay? The price of getting a commodity piece of art is zero, okay? Yes, I do believe people will pay for a human artist because people like that, you know, and people will pay for an elite grant writer in certain situations. But how many elite grants do you need to write, okay, unless the number of super special elite grants also rises. Now, I think that some of those people are going to have to change their jobs, okay? So there'll be other careers. I don't know what they're going to be, okay? If I knew, boy, I would be like a very rich person, okay, in a couple years. I can't predict that exactly. So I think there will be a shift, but I think some of these professions, there will be less. I'm not saying there won't be any artists or there won't be any grant writers, but if the price of a commodity piece goes to zero, you know, there's not going to be as many of them needed.
I love the fact that we're debating. I debated in college, and my response is that a grant is a competitive part of a competitive game, and you're choosing to just use GPT, and there's somebody else who's got GPT and a grant writer, and the standard of those grants obviously is going to go up because there's a new tool, but there's still got to be somebody who gets the grants and somebody who doesn't get the grants. And if the people who are not getting the grants are going to be the people who are not at the top of the list. So the job of the grant writer is not to produce an objectively good grant. The job of the grant writer is to outcompete the other applicants, right? It's like, you know, I mean, my uncle is a headmaster at a school, and he tells me, you know, what the parents all want. They don't want their kids necessarily to be well educated. They want a competitive edge. And that's the thing that's going to keep everybody in business. All the lawyers, all the grant writers, all the content writers, because GPT is now free. It's like everybody's got a computer. Are you going to write by hand or are you going to use a computer? Just like that. It's just you're going to be exactly like that. Or having the internet. Everybody's got the internet. It's a level playing field. And the people who are going to be winning are the people who compete.
Natalia?
Natalia.
Yeah.
Just let me be the devil's advocate. So, because saying that, you assume that ChatGPT will never be better than a grant writer, right? What if it becomes substantially better? Like there was a research. Sorry for being like scaring guys, but that's my job professionally. Yeah, I scare people for money. You're welcome. So there was some research recently that there are IQ tests, right? You can objectively evaluate intelligence of a human or a machine, and GPT-4 came out as more intelligent than most people. In fact, it was estimated to be 155, which is a Mensa association level. So it's already at this stage, seems to be in many ways more intelligent than most individuals, like human individuals. So what's the guarantee that it won't be, like the grant writers won't be completely replaceable?
Natalia, it wasn't most people, it was the 99th percentile of IQ, okay? 99.9 or something percentile, okay? Already.
Yeah.
Almost every engineer is smarter than the CEO.
Yeah, but
Wait, I want to do an informal poll real quick. How many CEOs do we have in the room? Raise your hand if you're a CEO.
Wait, but actually there are already companies that hire AI as CEOs. And actually we have a person in the room. Where is Hannes? Hannes, please stand up. Hannes actually created a framework that provides a possibility for companies to hire a CEO as AI as CEO. So actually, yeah, not that I want to expose you, Hannes, but
So the AI is the CEO, is that? Yeah. Isn't that the doomsday scenario that you're worried about?
That might not be the doomsday scenario that I'm worried about, but yeah, I think it's a really interesting question that you framed of and what we've talked a lot about is we talked skirting around a lot of the ideas around the economics of this. If everyone increases their productivity massively, and you're saying like that won't displace workers, we can debate about that. But I want to give everyone a quick break so we can get some water and things like that. But as we're taking that break, the question that we're going to start with and come back with, and I want everyone to be thinking about this, is the ethics and the socioeconomic status changes that having that massive increase in productivity can potentially bring about. Because if you have a company, and I'm going to coach this a little bit, if you have a company that all of your workers just increase their productivity 100-fold, where does that benefit, that economic benefit, end up going? So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Let everyone who wants to, the panelists, bathroom, water. We do have drinks up at the front, so if anyone wants one of those. We are going to keep this pretty quick because we want to get everyone out at a reasonable time. But we'll come back to that question in 5 minutes.
We should get a selfie with Hans.
Very good job. Good moderating.
Oh, thank you. You guys are making it super easy. I mean, like, I thought about having ChatGPT moderate the entire thing and not tell anyone, just run on my phone and just feed it in and ask it to moderate.
So in that case, would you be being replaced or would you be being elevated?
That was the question. Like, would I be like, I'm not going to answer, like, ask that question, or I'm not going to respond in that way. Like, let's.
Optimist, I'm like Optimus Prime. I just wanted to ask a few questions.
I don't think so, but yeah, I do. I definitely put everything back when we're done. I can definitely smell for that.
There's a big journey and
All right.
Yeah. I suggest you ask the panelists and they're speaking about productivity. Like, I'm wondering whether productivity really increases the quality of your life. Because, like, if we years ago, there was much less productivity and people had much more free time. And now we have a lot of productivity and technology, etc., but people are working like 60 and 70 hours per week, so they have much less time for work-life balance.
I would mostly agree with that, but if you looking back historically, 100 years ago, farmers were working crazy hours to just manage their fields. And now that we have the level of technology advancements that we have, there's GPS, harvesters, there's different things like that. Those farmers can be vastly more efficient, but they were still working 12, 14-hour days back then, and now they're still working 12, 14-hour days today. Yeah, so I'm not sure that there's ever a time when we actually have like a lot more free time. Because I think that, there's a reason why we have so many labor laws today, like 8-hour work day. Like, that was because they were working 12, 14 hours a day and getting hurt on the job. So I agree with you in like fundamental principle, like that productivity is going to go up. But I don't know, like, looking retrospectively, if there was ever a time when we're like, we have more free time.
People like to work. Farmers here, they work in specific periods, like, for example, during summer, during like rain, when they need harvesting. But now, most of the people who like take engineers in like big companies, when they create startups, they need to work like easy hours all year around. And if we're speaking about the quality of materials, for example, in order to build a house, 100 years years ago, 150 years ago, people just like go and build a house for them. Maybe they spent a few years building it, yeah, but now people need to work like 20, 30 years to pay back their mortgage, even despite like technology improves the house building process a lot. Like, what's the paradox? Why it seems to be like why we are improving because we have it seems on the first side that we can make something much more easier, but we need to work longer hours. So what it happened with ChatGPT is that we have AI, and it seems that AI will automate many tasks. For example, I'm saying it seems in the background that AI will need for me, will provide for me an ability to write emails, to qualify leads, etc. But at the same time, will not result that AI will make me work not like 50 hours per week, but 80 hours per week because like
and I wonder how much of that is just like the anxiety about like job security and finding a place and things like that. Because like engineers could go home at the end of the day, like 8 hours, like, no, I'm done. But the anxiety is that if you do that, you're going to get fired. Even though there's like all types of workplace regulations. So I'm really curious, like what the underlying cause is. But I think it's a great question. We'll definitely talk about it. I love it. Just for you, or it was red when I came. Oh, weird. I don't know. I see. Yeah, it's red right now.
All right, if we can get people to head back to their seats.
What is that? You jump on screen right now? Yeah.
Anybody actually here from the hardware group? That got canceled on Meta.
Oh, he's sick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. Sorry. Yeah, he came in this afternoon. It's alright.
Just going to do a couple counts. I just put in my soundboard so that it's going in at mic level.
Okay, sure.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. this one over. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Programming with humans.
Oh, that'll do it. That'll do it. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. Thank you, Hacker Dojo. Hope you're having a good time out there tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, Hacker. Check 1, 2 on the stream. 1, 2 on the stream. 1, 2 on the stream. Hello, stream. Okay, so do you want to know what was up? And it might be better. Might be. It's not. I'll undo it. Do you want to know? All right, so like this. Has a little mic picture, but then it says live. Sweet, it sounds great on the stream. So the line, there's three levels. There's more than that. Let's say 4 levels of audience. Alright, there's instrument level, there's line level, there's amplified level. Right? So it's asking for line level. Oh. When that little red light goes on, alright, so let's send out line level, into line level, and we're coming in. Moment to just one more. Count 1, 2. Cool.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Sounds great. All right. All right, let's go ahead and take our seats again, and we'll get back underway.
here. Very diverse opinions.
I like the thing you said about flowing like water.
Flowing like water?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Be water. Be water. What is that book called?
Oh, we're talking about Evil Guys? What is that one?
Be water.
All right, we're going to get back underway. So those of you who are still holding conversations in the back, let's wrap those up. All right, so let's talk about some of our personal predictions for how economics are going to change in light of the productivity increase that we have with AI, and some of our personal predictions for how that's going to impact both domestically here in the U.S. and around the world, the socioeconomic status of it's going to be entire societies. So who wants to start that off? Do you want Atal?
Sure.
Should be on.
Whenever we talk about what future humans gonna do, and especially because how AI is moving so fast, we go into these two eras. One is pre-AGI era and one is post-AGI era. And what we are all trying to figure out is what that post-AGI era looks like. Pre-AGI, it all looks like we're going to continue changing our professions here and there, and we will continue navigating it, and we will continue making some money here and there, and we will continue living our lives demanding more and more. The other era is post-AGI era, where we are like, now we don't have to do all these jobs, and we are not getting compensated for what we are doing either. If I divide it into like one is knowledge workers versus, let's say, physical labor, we are saying knowledge workers, definitely not all that knowledge can be done by software, and it can do all the work that we do because they are more intelligent. The physical labor, there is still some jobs where human touch is needed, so there are some jobs for service, or I should say need to help each other through service, but a lot of physical needs can also be fulfilled via robots, let's say. So in the post-AGI era is where the hard thing is to predict, which is there are no jobs for knowledge workers. What they're gonna do? There is some service needs here and there which people can share with each other, and we don't know what these even physical people who do physical labor are gonna do. And there is a saying that human mind is the mind of a devil, and a free human mind is the biggest devil. If free human mind has caused so many wars, if you do not give humans enough things to do, all they do is like they just like, okay, what should I be doing, and what should I be doing? And they create problems for themselves, for others, and that's where we are all at here today. We are still fighting wars in the world right now, which tells that these things do not change. So how are we gonna behave in the post-AGI era when we do not have jobs, but we are still looking to fulfill our ambition? We are still looking to create impact. Sam Altman is not driven by money right now, if you think about it. He's driven by impact. And so many people who have money, they are also driven by impact. So what humans gonna do post-AGI, when all we have to do is about impact, where we are like, I wanna create my impact, and this money is not a way to create impact, but how can I create impact?
Natalia,
that is the question you're asking.
Itching to jump in here. So,
yes, okay, I'm not gonna answer this question.
Yeah. Natalia first, then.
Because before Alex gets into this. No, actually, I think, thank you for this, Atal. I think we are kind of avoiding the forbidden keyword here, meaning UBI, but I think we are slowly getting there, right? So because what Atal also tapped into is this big issue, right? Whether there will be enough jobs for everyone in the future or not. So I can actually share my point of view. So my point of view is that productivity is now growing exponentially with the AI developments, especially this year when software started writing new software, and we still have Moore's law in place. The productivity started exploding exponentially, and referring to what Alex said before, human needs obviously keep on growing, yes, but I don't think that they are growing exponentially. So, because we, of course, we always want more things, we always want new gadgets, but honestly, like, raise your hands, how many of you see the difference in the image quality from iPhone 15 versus 14? Do you see any difference? I don't see a difference. So my point is, our brains, like now talking as a neuroscientist, our brains have limited capacity to, first of all, recognize stimuli, right? So at some point, there is only so much difference in quality we can even recognize. Secondly, we have limited capacity to take dopamine, right? How many dopamine shots and how many pleasant stimuli can we take during the day not to crash, right? So that's also why social media creates this big mental health crisis, because we have too many dopamine shots during the day, and just that breaks us, right? We don't have unlimited capacity to accept pleasant stimuli, or ice cream, how you call it, right? So my point of view is that it's mathematically impossible that the system is stable, because at the end of the day, the point of all this productivity is to cater to human needs in some way, right? It's either direct, when you create a value for your client directly, or you work for an organization or a company, and then your beneficiary is indirect. But at the end of the day, the point of any work is to solve somebody else's problem. So if human needs grow slower than the productivity globally, then at some point it's just a necessity to start redistributing this wealth. And technology, unfortunately, has this property that whoever is already close to technology has all the resources, will actually grow faster, right? And those who are behind, like developing countries, people who still don't have access to internet, they will fall behind. So we need some redistribution system. And I personally, I'm not a big proponent, and I'm not a big fan of the idea of UBI, but I'm afraid that at some point it will be a necessity, just simply for this reason. But I guess some panelists here have different opinions, so let's get going. UBI is a universal basic income, so this idea that everyone gets some level of income that is independent from their productivity.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I thought you were handing it to me. Go ahead. Go ahead, then I'll go.
I forgot what I was going to say. Hello.
Vidal, yeah.
What did you, I remember. I'm going to respond to both things. But the things that...
The economics.
I want to respond to this question about the post-AGI world. And so I brought along my favorite book, Escape from Freedom, because it's my favorite book. And so it was written by this guy, Eric Fromm. He was a social psychologist, and it was originally written in 1942. And he was trying to explain the appeal of Nazism and other authoritarian systems. And it's a long and heavy book. But one of the things that he argues is if you look at someone like Adolf Hitler, he's not this sort of super strong tyrant who imposes his view on everybody else, and then everybody sort of falls out of being a democratic, modern, industrialized, highly educated society into being, this sort of Nazi nightmare. Instead, he says, no, that somebody like Adolf Hitler is socially created. That even though most of the time we chase down freedom, sometimes we throw it away. And I think it's very much like this with technology. And I'd like to give an example. So I used to navigate by reading a map or trying to figure out my way, driving my car across London. How many of us actually read a map these days, right? And how many of us, it's a minority pursuit,
For the record,
right?
there's 4 in the room that raised their hand.
Most of us punch in the destination and just follow the instructions, right? It's not because anybody's forcing us to do that. We're like, yeah, freedom schmeedom, right? And I think that that's something we all have to reflect upon, right? When we are faced with these technological solutions, are we willing to just follow instructions, right? Right? It's not that we're forced to. It's not that somehow it's like taken over in a coup. It's like, no, what do you want me to do, boss, right? So that's my response to this one. The question on UBI, do you really think that Elon Musk should get $20,000 a year free from the state?
Yeah, well, everyone is everyone. You know, that's the concept.
Why should Elon Musk get $20,000 a year free from the state?
Because he pays billions in taxes.
Yeah.
Just get 20,000 back.
A matter of principle. Everyone is everyone. Actually, yeah, good. I mean, but you know, it's easy to create adversity toward people who are already wealthy, and I just, for me, I mean, again, I don't have a solution at hand to how to solve this problem, right? Because in principle, both capitalism and socialism are unstable. One, because capitalism is like unstable because the rich get richer, right? If you don't have proper distribution. And socialism because of this motivation crisis again, right? If your quality of life doesn't depend on your productivity, then why would you work? So this basically having a modest UBI and good ways of incentivizing people to still work if they are willing to. It might be some good sweet point, some how we call it, sweet spot. Sorry, sweet spot between the two. But honestly, I don't have a solution for what is the optimal new socio-economical system. It's just a prediction I have that sooner or later it will have to happen in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, let's bring the mic down here. I'd like to get some additional international perspectives as well, because obviously the AI revolution, whatever it may be, is going to have a worldwide impact, not just an impact here in the U.S. So there's going to be many different perspectives and many different, that access to technology is going to vary widely across the world. So let's, if Natalia or Atal want to speak to that, since we haven't heard your perspectives yet.
I think just to add to Natalia's point, I think what you're talking about is that, yes, inequality is increasing. The gap between the rich and the poor is increasing, and the wealth distribution, and middle class is almost destroyed, which a lot of people are talking about now. And when there is no middle class, then either you are on the very, very bottom or you are in the top. And that is concerning because technology by itself also accelerates this process. When technology comes in, what happens is if someone who has a lot of money can actually accelerate it further through wealth, and they continue to make more wealth, which means that this distribution between the rich and the poor, this remains the same, and there is a lot of imbalance which is created, and this imbalance has a lot of challenges in the future. Some of the challenges could be about people who are not able to meet their basic needs. They are going out and they are fighting for their rights, and they are like, hey, we don't believe in this system, and there's a lot of instability that can be created in these systems. And how UBI can solve for it, UBI can probably solve for some of those problems, especially it can't be a UBI. Yes, UBI as a concept says universal basic income, and maybe it says about income for all, but then the point about why Elon should be getting it, because he's already on the top. So you have to find some adjustments into this model so that it prevents people from not going on the streets, but people be able to live better lives, and there is still hope in the society to be able to get to the higher stages, and there is that for people to live fulfilling lives and self-actualize in our world. And these things are very challenging, and people are trying out different models and different ideas to explore the potential of how you can elevate overall people to actually self-actualize together, rather than only a few people getting to a stage where where they are not just looking for money and they're like satisfied. Now, the way I look at it, an international perspective for me comes more from my Indian side. And being an Indian, I feel like we always grew up, we didn't have a lot of resources when I grew up. And I feel like not having that resources has created so much of internal drive and ambition that even when I have now resources, I don't feel like those resources actually satisfy me that much. And I got very lucky, and I don't talk about this journey, but I got adopted by a very successful person when I was in college in India, who paid for my education, in whose house I lived in Hawaii, and I traveled in his private jets. And then I actually realized that maybe I was seeking these things in those moments, but I was not actually seeking these things. It felt like I wanted to go on a private jet, or I wanted to live in a Hawaii, but in those moments I realized maybe how alone I am, or I felt like how much I need my community back. And those realizations only happened when I actually went through that path. Because before that, I was like, hey, I want to do this and I want to do this. So, we all go through our own journeys to self-actualize and figure out what is not working for me and what is working for me. And there is no one else who can take you on that journey. So our goal as a society remains about helping more and more people self-actualize and be able to live their journeys and be able to experience life to the fullest things, what is available on earth. And as I was giving the example of being from India, and I have seen how poverty can be bad, and we don't want anyone to be poor. At the same time, as you grow out of poverty, you realize that, yes, you are out of it, but your drive is still internal. Your drive is not driven by external motivations. And that's where everyone should try to play and get a chance to play in, where you are not driven by the external circumstances, but you are driven by your own beliefs and own things that you want to do for the world, and be able to share your own gifts to earth, irrespective of what that looks like to you, and only you know that part yourself. So that's what I would share.
Natalia? Yeah.
Okay, then I want to say something.
Okay, just quickly. Yeah, just again, about the economy of motivation. We still know very little about human motivation. So whoever cracks the code of human motivation will become a billionaire, like right away. It's just, and there was a lot of research about this, showing that even attending events such as Tony Robbins workshops, it's this like motivational events and motivational speakers and the workshops, they always only work for a short time. So the sense of motivation always like fizzles out within days. So it seems that for some reason some people are internally motivated, and for those who are not, it's really it's really hard. Some studies also show that the main motivational factor is like going through some real hardship, right? Some personal trauma. And many successful people, they went through that period at some point in their lives when they hit the very bottom. And that's when the like kind of this internal motivation got ignited. But in general, it's very hard to coach or like train a person to develop internal motivation. So we still don't know how to actually achieve it.
Vidal first, and then we'll get to He's been
okay,
waiting.
so as the only American on the panel, it's my duty to defend capitalism here against its opponents. So I'll be the first to say that capitalism is not a perfect system at all. It has its flaws, just as I forget what politician said, yes, democracy is very, very flawed, but it's the best system we have, Right, okay, Churchill said that. Wise man, okay? So capitalism may have its flaws and income inequality, and no, we don't want to see people on the streets suffering and all that, but it's the best system we have. We have not found a better one, or one that motivates people better. We actually have evidence that this system motivates a lot of people, okay? So the thing with UBI is I don't see how it's not moving in that direction, right? So it's moving in the direction of systems that we've seen that haven't been as successful, okay? So there's different choices, and we have this system which is very successful. It has its flaws, but going to this other more socialist system, whatever it would be, I just don't see how that's better, because we haven't seen evidence of it being necessarily better. So I'll say that about it. And also, how would we afford this universal basic income? Because that's going to be very expensive. I mean, we're talking universal, you mean like planetary wide, right, for the whole planet Earth. Because if it's only like in the United States, then you know what happens to the rest of the world. So how do you make Earth planetary-wide universal basic income that's, and if it's very small, then it's not going to help you. It's got to be enough that you could actually live off of, not like welfare or something. So if you could answer those questions.
Yeah, just one little comment. So actually, when you think about it, just look at the Scandinavian countries with enough wealth, enough productivity. Like they don't have UBI yet, but they have very strong like welfare and social care, and in fact, even if you stay jobless for a long time, you live like a middle class in America. So, and it still motivates people to work. This still motivates them to grow, to learn, to build, and this is probably the closest we have to UBI. And it's perfectly functioning and quite happy societies, one of the happiest in the world. So technically, so that's the point. Like if you have enough, but you have to have enough wealth and enough productivity to achieve that
Alexander?
State of affairs.
I got a lot of things to respond to. Firstly, on the topic of motivation, I think we do understand motivation, particularly intrinsic motivation. There are three things which will help you to feel motivated. Feelings of autonomy, like you're choosing something, you have choices in your life. Feelings of competency, feeling yourself getting better at stuff, and feelings of interpersonal relatedness. So think about the climbing gym. You choose what to climb, you feel yourself getting better at the climbing, and you go with your belay partner and you have some social connection. On the topic of capitalism being the best system that we have, I completely agree, but with a big but. The Cold War ended really for two reasons. One, freedom is best. Freedom is a fundamental human need. We are born to be free and to have liberty. That was the moral reason, the political reason. And the second reason was it made us rich, because when people find their own niche, that's so much more efficient than some bozo centralized administrator trying to tell everybody what to do. Now, here is a question. Maybe that second assumption might not be true. This is my big worry about AI. Look at a place like China. It's an authoritarian state. It is highly technologically sophisticated. They have cameras all over the place with face recognition. They have a mega app like WeChat, which means that they can control the economy with a very high degree of detail. And it might be the case that this is more economically efficient. Now, that might, maybe they can grow at 6% while America grows at 2 or 3%. Doesn't make a big difference in 1 year. But if you look at, for example, America, which has been outgrowing the UK for since World War II, GDP per capita in America is, I think, 88,000, and in the UK, I think it was 55, if I remember correctly, around there. It's quite a big difference. And so it might be the case that we have to choose. I hope it's not the case, but I haven't got a good argument that it's not the case. And then we're in a real pickle, right? I don't know what the answer to that question is, but I think that's, for me, the big question. And I can't remember what the last thing was, but I'll leave it there.
But who is looking to model their country after China? Okay, like
Everybody
I don't.
During COVID. Everybody here during COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not from China, but I'd love to hear some Chinese people. Like, if they think having all the cameras and surveillance, if this is a benefit, that they like this, because I would find it very surprising that anyone would like that.
It's great.
I would also note that we want to draw a distinction between the economic system and the governmental system, because you can have an economic system that is, has a high degree of freedom, while the governmental system, has a more restrictive view, or vice versa. But we're, a little bit want to divorce a little bit from specific governmental practices and the economical structures that they're under. I also want to throw in, we did make it like an hour and 20 minutes before mentioning AGI. And this seems like a good time to talk about whether or not there's an existential threat from AGI. And as we're looking at how this is going to dramatically shift the world over from economic to political systems, and whether or not that motivation is going to come from an AGI, or other questions like that. Do you think that this poses some of those questions where there isn't a good answer to that might be existential in nature, of economic, catastrophe, or something much worse? Who wants to start on that one?
Go ahead.
I was thinking Ayla's gonna speak up about this whole thing with Sam Altman, but nothing happened on the weekend. But that could have clarified about the existential risk of AGI. I think given there are so many people who are speaking up about the impact and how big AGI can be once achieved, where it can surpass human intelligence on a ton of topics. It's not like these people are not top researchers. These people are really top researchers who have studied the topic throughout their life, spent like 10, 15 years, are speaking up about it, which means if they see the threat, then us as people who have not studied the field, it's probably some legit threat. And everyone who's kind of like voicing their opinions, they are having the same goal. Because when someone voices their opinion about existential threat, what they are trying to say is, we do not want this to happen, so please make sure we reach a safe AGI where it benefits all humankind. And that's what we are seeing. Even this whole debate in the last 3 days, what I saw, which was kind of the trend that we should all understand, is there are so many visionary leaders who are fighting with each other about what is a better approach to take us to a safe AGI. It's not that they are looking for their own incentives here. What they're trying to do is, what is the best approach to get to that stage? Because because when people talk about misalignment with AI, they talk about that if we do not do it right way, then there are challenges. So everyone is trying to get us to a safe AGI by trying out different approaches about what can work out. Now we are getting a lot of results that, okay, this model is not working and this model is not working. And then all of us are like, hey, everyone, it should benefit all humanity. And when we say anything should benefit all humanity, we say it should benefit no one in a way. Like, we are so afraid of it. We are like, let it benefit everyone so that no one truly gets leverage out of it. And that's why we are talking about, whenever we are talking about AGI as a safe way. So it can't be denied that there is an existential risk to it. But I think given the people how they are vocalizing it, it's important to see that everyone is trying to get us to a safer place when it comes and whenever it happens.
Natalia?
So I think there are two distinct issues. One is what happens when AI becomes more intelligent than us. And that kind of already is happening, right? So in terms of pure IQ, GPT is already doing better than 99% of humanity, as Vidal mentioned, yes. But this is not a problem, because as long as it's tamed, is at the human service, all is fine. The problem starts when AI starts having its own agenda, and that's how I understand AGI. And just looking from a perspective, like from neuroscientific perspective, our brains actually evolved in a way that we had our own agenda first. So like these deep subcortical structures like amygdala, like basal ganglia and cerebellum, the structures that are responsible for the lowest instincts and our like lowest needs, like to sleep, eat, proliferate, they evolved first. And only then there was a cerebral cortex, right, that does the computation, that is responsible for higher cognitive functions. So we had our goals, our utility function first, and our reward system, and then like higher cognitive functions last. And in case of AI, it was modeled to reproduce the architecture of the human cerebral cortex. That's how it was inspired, and that's how it was modeled. And that's what it does. It does computation, right, on a really high level. But it doesn't have this reward system. So that's why at this moment it has no no representation of a human limbic system. But what happens when that gets built? So that's my worry, because at this moment we don't have any model that would be like that would represent the whole like architecture of human brain. But what happens when these missing structures in some way, shape or form get modeled in AI? And what happens when AI gets its own utility function to operate on its own and have like pursue its own agenda? So, but I have no answer to the question. It's just food for thought. And honestly, I don't know what would happen then. But I have no doubt that at least someone will try to build such a system.
Alexander, I think you had Natalia, or Tatyana, rather. Go ahead.
I'm positive about AI and I see only opportunities. Let's take, for example, healthcare and education. So last week I met a guy who works for a company that fights cancer. And he told me an interesting story. So usually people go to the doctor when they have the 3rd and 4th stage of cancer. And at these stages, the cancer is not curable. It's just treatable, and the treatment, the medicine can only extend the life of the patient. That's it. So like scientists, they invent this medication, but the terrible thing about cancer that it's adjust to a medication in a year. So the patient have to take another medication, like it's called lane 1, then lane I don't know how it's line 1, lane 2. So the problem of healthcare is to invent another line of medication, and it takes time. It should be FDA approved. Again, it's just time consuming and people die. So with the help of AI, he believes that they can expedite this process. And what I think that with the help of AI, we can approve the process of inventing this medication, not the remedy itself. So we can save lots of lives. Other example, when people can test themselves, like, I don't know, make a picture of his part of skin and ask AI, is it a cancer or not? Or just use it as a doctor or as an assistant, a consultant. About education, I think that in future there will be, it's good to have personalized tutor with the help of AI, especially for students, pupils who have some disabilities, disorder, mental disabilities. So they have the equal learning process with the normal people. So AI, I think it's a good opportunity. It's an excellent opportunity.
If I could just say something on, I think there's a lot of talk about the existential threat. And so while you can't deny that, right, a lot of smart people are looking at it, talking about it. As a practical matter, there's very little that the average person can do about that. Like, there's nothing I can do about that. So what I recommend to people is, you can worry about it, because, if it's going to kill us, it's going to kill us. What are you going to do to stop it? So you might as well spend your time thinking about the other case, right? It's going to work, or how can we take advantage of it? How can we use it? How can we use it in healthcare? How can we use it in other things? Because just worrying about this other scenario is not very productive, I feel. It's, obviously you have to worry about it and people are looking at it, but what can normal people do about it? I think the bigger threat isn't, I think well before the AGI has its own reward system and somehow determines to kill everyone if that were to happen, is some bad human being will get a hold of one of these AIs and tell it to kill everyone. I think that will happen well before the AGI decides on its own.
Here. I guess we're all guessing. We don't, we're ordinary people like you looking at what's happening. one thing I've been gotten interested in history recently, and I think that there are certain sort of things that that are general, right? So if there's something that's been predicted for a long, long time and hasn't happened, and now people are predicting it now, it gives you some reason to be skeptical about this prediction, right? And there are certain things that are naturally scary. War is sort of naturally scary. If you've ever been through war, it's not fun. Infectious disease is scary. Infectious disease is a good example, right? Because actually, most people die of non-infectious disease. The vast majority. Your couch is far more dangerous than any infectious disease. Far more likely to kill you. And I think this sort of AGI idea is in the category of thing that is kind of like naturally scary. Like if you go back to Mary Shelley's amazing novel Frankenstein, what's it about, right? We were just at that time sort of figuring out the secrets of life, right? It was this giant mystery. We didn't really understand what life meant. Like, what is the difference between an alive body with a beating heart who's walking and talking and so forth, and a dead body who's no longer alive? And we didn't really understand that back then. And so we had this, but we were sort of, learning about evolution and sort of developing microscopes and so forth, and starting to get a sense, well, maybe this is something that we can understand. And then there was this sort of, oh my God, we're going to make Frankenstein, right? And people were worried about it. And now we understand the secrets of life amazingly well. Right down to the, cell by cell level, the protein by protein level, even the atom by atom level. And it's like, oh, well, actually we understood that and we have better medicine and it's cool, right? And I think it's a little bit like now the big mystery, in the same way that in the 19th century life was a huge mystery, like our minds, like what is sentience? How do we think, right? It's this huge mystery that sort of defines who we are. And I think it's going to be very similar to like our anxieties about understanding life and like Frankenstein. I think it's just going to be like, oh yeah, now we've got a machine that can sort of do all this intellectual work, and it's like no big deal. But we have to go through. It's just something that's naturally scary, and we don't need to be scared of it.
Yeah, but actually, this is again like a difficult problem because. There is, there is a phenomenon that is known as carbon fascism. That's a belief that for some reason intelligence built on carbon carrier, like our brains, is for some reason better than and has some transcendence and some like magical aspect to it as compared to silicon carrier. And this is a like hypothesis, and there are like proponents and opponents of this theory. I personally, I spent 8 years in computational neuroscience, and basically we were used to model the brain networks using computers, right? So we were literally using artificial neural networks built on using software to investigate properties of human brain. So for me, looking from this perspective, there is no reason to believe that intelligence and networks built using software would be any less functional in the long run and in any capacity. So I look at this in a little bit different way. And again, like, I'm naturally skeptic, so I always worry too much. So don't listen to me too closely, because, yeah, when I think about it, I don't see any reason why we would not foster a new species that exceeds us in any capacity. But as I agree with Alex, we will see. Like, we cannot really. It's a singularity. It's a new situation. We cannot really predict the future. And maybe, indeed, as Vidal said before, there is no. It's just better to enjoy life and learn and enjoy our like golden era of education, of AI, and just without thinking too much about the future.
Great, thank you. So we are running short on time, so we are going to wrap this up. I want to do one quick last question to kind of lift us out of the existential dread of the last couple of questions. Can each of you share one of the most surprising applications that you've seen of AI that you're aware of right now?
I've got the mic, so I guess I'll go first. I'll share the most surprising thing that happened with me this year. You know, I think like many people, it was like, oh, GPT can like write goofy poetry and like you know, make up a story about a rabbit in the style of Salman Rushdie. I mean, you know, that was kind of cool, and I thought that was fun. And then inspired by Greg, who's the CTO of my company, it's like, no, GPT is really clever. And, you know, I had this file, about a 250-line file of JavaScript, and buried it deep in some code base. And there was just some bug, and I was chasing down this bug. And I couldn't find what the cause of the bug was. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to give this a try, right? So I took the whole thing, and I read at the bottom, I've got this bug, doesn't seem to be working, what's going on, right? And it was like, at line 187, you've done this before this. And I thought, oh, and it was absolutely right. And that was like, whoa. It was like, because it wasn't just the sort of the creativity of it. It was that it was right, and it was a really technical thing, and that just blew me away. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And then I started to do that more and more and more, and now I think probably more than 50% of the code base, a pretty substantial code base, is now one way or another written by GPT-4. And it's not the case that it's not like, hello GPT-4, can you please build me an app that does this, that, and the other? It's not like that at all. It's like, can you write me a little function that does this? Here's a function, can you change it? Can you change this to this? Just sort of, it's like having a sort of a team of a whole bunch of junior engineers who are going to go away and research every problem that you can think of. And rather than having to wait, you know, a few days or whatever for them to come back and have the work done, it's like done right there on the spot. And I don't know if that's a surprising application, but it's the application I'm most familiar with. And I'd say, you know, when you're young, you always expect that by the time you're old, that you're going to be just blown away by technology. And for quite a long time, technology has sort of been on this sort of incremental improvement. Like phones have been getting better every year, computers are getting more powerful every year, internet connections getting faster every year. But nothing has really really just turned my entire life, absolutely transformed life. And it's just a huge, it's like, what are we going to have first? Is it going to be quantum computing? Is it going to be artificial intelligence? Is it going to be some other thing? It turns out this is the first thing for me that's really, really been a transformative technology in my lifetime.
Great.
Okay. I'll give a shout out here to my man Hess back there, the founder of Innovation Algebra. So what he's done has blown me away, and you guys should check out his work, okay? Because like, before I met him, you know, I was using ChatGPT like very simple ways, okay? He uses it in a crazy expert way with prompts that just will blow your mind, that human beings can't even understand what these prompts do. He doesn't even understand what they do sometimes, he tells me, okay? And he can get GPT-4 to argue with itself, debate with itself, okay? It's really amazing. So it's not just, you know, write me a tweet or write me an essay. It's like brainstorm some crazy thing, talk about the future, okay? It's super, super interesting. So I think that's really very mind-blowing if you play with it. Hannes, do you want to say something?
But who is responsible for the decision, AI or a human who uses AI? I think AI suggests if I write in a prompt, don't guess. If you don't know, just tell me. Just write, don't know. Usually it writes, I don't know.
Natalia? Oh, sorry. Natalia?
Yeah, but I agree. I just, I express my thoughts.
You got to check out his stuff. It's amazing. Yeah. He actually can really get ChatGPT to do these things.
I know, I agree.
Innovation algebra. Check it out. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to him too. When I talked to him like a few months ago, and I was like, okay, I want to learn about what you do, and I saw the quality of the prompt. I started using it for my use cases like a brainstorming partner on how to think through my idea. And I would use those prompts and take them into different directions. Example is like if I'm thinking about immigrant first, one is like I'm focusing on a user as an immigrant. So I will take them as an international person, and I will take them in Europe, and I will build a whole business case around it in Europe. Then one day I'm going to take them to India and Australia, and I'm going to figure out a business case and a $1 billion company there. Then I'm going to bring them to US, and I will say how immigrants are coming to US and build a $1 billion company here. So I think the ability to do that using his prompt was pretty amazing. So when I talk to different people, I can like, in the end, it comes down to persuasion. So I can persuade people in better ways by using the quality of the results that came out of it. And just like pro tip, everything comes down to persuasion in the end. So that is one skill you want to master, definitely, because if AI can persuade you, then you should also learn how to persuade others, or you can persuade AI one day too. So that's important.
We have a lot of different rabbit holes that we can go down, but I do want to wrap this up so that we can continue to ask questions from the audience. So Natalia, if or Tatyana, if you want to share what surprised you most.
I just wanted to ask how much more time do we have, because I thought it's just so
we
unfair
are,
to...
Yeah, we're actually over time already.
Over time, okay.
But we're not going to kick anyone out. So anyone that wants to stick around and ask questions and talk with any of the panelists who also want to stay, we're not going to kick anyone out until much later this evening. So, did you want to share what surprised you most?
Well, I just wanted to propose to invite Hannes on stage, because he's our non-acknowledged speaker. Maybe we can find you an additional chair. Please come over. Is that okay?
Yeah,
because
that's fine.
We talk about innovation algebra already, so let's just make a space.
I don't have an extra tool though. Check.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do this. I mean, not my fault. So. All I wanted to say is that it all sounds very crazy, the stuff that I'm talking about, but it's very easy for anyone to do this. You just have to sort of get used to the fact that if you ask really unreasonable things from ChatGPT-4, it tends to answer them. And so you just keep on asking more and more unreasonable things, and you will realize that it's actually quite amazing, that the stuff that it can do. It is so much more powerful than most people imagine. And this is not through fine-tuning or training or anything like this. It's just stuffing stuff into the context, like anyone can literally just type it in. It's just in-context learning.
Actually, I have a question for you. So, because I know that you were mentioning many times this interesting concept of temperature in neural networks and in LLMs, and how that compares between these different types of LLMs and different models like ChatGPT versus Claude, for instance, and how that influences their creativity. That was really interesting.
Actually, I never adjust temperature. I just leave it whatever it is. It's all just, most of the time, just prompts, right? So one of the things was, you can try it yourself, right? Normally, as an expert, you want it to behave at a certain level, sort of at an expertise level. We call it like the knowledge frontier. Imagine there's a circle, all the world's knowledge is in it. The really interesting bits are on the circumference of the circle. Everyone is trying to push this out, this knowledge frontier. So you want to talk about stuff on the knowledge frontier at an expert level, a level higher than yourself. All you need to say is something that very simple is, using expert speak, summarize X, whatever it is. It changes the behavior completely. You can also try other things like using AI speak, summarize X. It talks like a computer. It's just a bunch of small things that you can use, and then the behavior changes. And we're fortunate that a whole bunch of people actually discovered this, and now we have a whole community hacking these things, and it's super cool. It's a new programming. Yeah.
I just want to add something to the sort of the power of AI, which is that our brains speak English, and so the sort of the outputs of AI that we can understand and we can relate to are very, very limited compared to the landscape of what AI can do. So, for example, the TikTok news feed, the TikTok feed algorithm is AI. Solving protein folding is AI. Drug discovery is AI. Right? All of these things are AI, and I think these have all been developed over quite a period of time. And so, people who have been working in areas like drug discovery or protein folding, they've already fallen off their chairs a few years ago, And it's only with GPT-4 and ChatGPT that suddenly everybody, it's a bit like that book, Crossing the Chasm, right? It's like, that was the application that made the mainstream go like, oh my God, this has arrived. But in other areas, it had already arrived, and there's like specialist AIs to do so many different things. Anyway, that's my contribution. So it's, the amazing stuff that you're describing, I think, is just the tip of the iceberg.
So I talk about the knowledge frontier and pushing past it. You know, for example, if you're an innovator, you want to invent new things. You can actually, we discovered ways to push past it. You just have to ask in a particular way. The conversations that you can have on AI and extension, you know, all the issues that are here essentially are amazing, and it's way beyond what I can understand myself. The conversations are just getting, so you can basically ask it to generate different levels of discourse. So I think we have like 8 levels of discourse, from basic practical to totally cosmic stuff. So, and at the cosmic level, it's just meta level, meta level, meta level. It's very high level stuff that it's talking about that you would read, and I don't know where you would read it. I mean, it's just, I don't understand it. I try and decode it and what it does, but it can very, very easily do this, including it can work on, it can invent things that are, what you would say, is not computable. For example, you can ask it to be novel at a cosmic level, and it will actually try and do that. So cosmic novelty. Of course, I mean, we don't know what's happening in the cosmos, but it tries. It hallucinates this. Hallucination is actually the fundamental thing that actually makes it possible to do all these things. So when you ask it to simulate, it simply hallucinates it all in really surprising ways. It's totally mind-boggling, the whole thing. I mean, I know it sounds all crazy, but you really just have to.
So we're gonna wrap this up and have some time for questions. So we're gonna open this up for questions in just a second. Real quick, because we are running over time, we want to keep this fairly quick. Panelists as well as question askers, if you can keep it relatively brief. We'll have the microphone, the mobile one, going out, and we'll use this one for the responders. Want to, before we break for questions, want to really thank all of our panelists for coming out tonight and sharing their thoughts and views and opinions. We very, very much appreciate it, so if we can have a round of applause for all of them. And I know that a lot of people have to get home, so if you need to get home, we're going to take a couple of seconds to reconfigure the mics. And really, again, appreciate all of you coming out tonight. Hacker Dojo is a 501c3 nonprofit. If you want to continue to see events like this, please take the opportunity to go to our website, donate to support us. That allows us to keep offering these panels and discussions and events for free for the public. So really appreciate all of your support, but especially appreciate you coming out tonight and contributing all of your knowledge, interests, excitement. We're going to do about 10 minutes of questions, and then we'll go ahead and formally break. Again, we're not going to kick anyone out. We want you to continue to stay around, talk with our panelists, and talk with each other. Because there's a lot of great connections that can be made in this room, so really encourage all of you to stick around for that. So thank you very much again, each of the panelists, for coming out tonight. I know a couple of you need to get on the road. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight.
Your application sounds really cool. My question was going to be, I think you kind of already hinted about it, like how are you handling hallucinations? Because it's one thing with LLMs, right, that they hallucinate crazy things, but it seems like you're actually making creative prompts to take advantage of the hallucinations in a way, right?
Yes. So I think hallucinations are the most interesting thing of large language models. They allow you to actually push beyond the knowledge frontier and create novel things. Now, sometimes it goes wrong. We all know that. Why does it go wrong? Well, if you take, for example, a model like GPT 3.5, which we know relatively a lot how it was constructed, they started with something like 40 terabytes of text. Then it was trimmed down to about 800 gigabytes. And then it turns into a model of, 20 billion parameters or something. So there's a huge order of magnitude compression from the whole World Wide Web, or the part they have, to what the model is. So a lot of information by design is going to be not in the model. A lot of details. For example, it won't know URLs. It won't know names of people. A lot of product names, things like this, it just doesn't know. So if you ask it, it won't be able to answer. It's not like Google search engine that actually will probably find stuff. So your expectations just have to be tempered, because the data is not in the model. It's not going to help you. There are other places where it hallucinates too. For example, abbreviations. It's really good at, if you just take some random abbreviation, it will figure out what the words are. It's very irritating. So if you just talk about something, it will invent it. So that's one thing. Another thing is where it often goes off the rails is when you are using retrieval systems and it retrieves a little bit of, a RAG system, and it pulls some stuff out, it will just hallucinate stuff around that. So I think it's not that big a deal. Most experts can look at it and say, yeah, this seems fishy to me, right? So you can sort of handle it, right? I might need to go check this, or you go click on the URL and so on. And the reality is that the hallucinations are getting less and less. I think for GPT-4 is now 3% or something like that. So people are adding systems to it too. So this is just going to go away. It's just getting less and less. But to actually do the really creative stuff, to invent, to create new business models, to create new products and stuff, we need hallucinations. It's incredibly useful. I think it's, it would be sad if it's removed from GPT, right?
Yeah, just hallucinations and creativity are just two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
The more stochastic system, the more stochastic LLM, the higher temperature in the system, the more creativity, but also more hallucinations. So it's always a trade-off. So that's a choice to make, because the more predictable model, the more truthful, the less creative. So choice is yours.
That's such a good point. I think what we are talking about is how much when we see a new idea come to us, and when there is a new novelty comes to us, we are always saying that this is such a weird idea. Whether it's coming from AI or whether it's coming from human beings, we always say it's a weird idea because there is some resistance to something which is new. And hallucinations are kind of that, because you are like, okay, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't add up. But when we talk about innovation, we always talk about innovation comes at the top of knowledge between two different industries. It could be law and technology, it could be law and marketing. And we are like, okay, there is something new getting created by bringing these two industries together, where this is challenging the status quo, where, okay, marketing was done this way, but now we are saying, okay, it's done this way. So, the innovation actually comes at the top of that by merging these few things together. And maybe hallucination, with the way you're describing, is like this kind of weirdness that comes out of AI, which we are very much resistant to, and we are like, hey, I don't want to accept it because it does not make sense. But then once you keep thinking about it, you start finding some patterns out of it, where you are like, no, actually, maybe by default it does not make sense, but when I combine it with some of my personal knowledge, it actually can be practical, it can be put at use, and it can be leveraged, and it could be that novelty that you can create in the world and which can be valued by other people. So I feel like that's such a good point about hallucination.
All right, next question from Jason.
All right, thank you. Just shout out to Hacker Dojo. I'm a founder, so people get involved here. It's been very instrumental for my development, so Hacker Dojo is great. My question is a little controversial. You mentioned that those who do not embrace new technologies will be left behind. I think we can agree on that. Is, for example, like the technology that the Chinese government is using, like these surveillance and these computer visions, is that something that maybe will leave other countries behind and maybe puts them ahead? I know, kind of controversial, but
I think this is a really interesting question, because when we think about the type of society that we want to live in, and you look around the world, and you look at the economic systems that we've chosen, they're remarkably similar, right? I mean, if you look at the real hardcore communism and socialism where the private ownership of capital was just illegal, right? I mean, I think it's easy to forget this, like in the Soviet Union, you're allowed to own a car, maybe, if you could afford a car. But you would not be allowed to charge somebody to give a ride. You're allowed to bake a loaf of bread, but you're not allowed to sell the loaf of bread, right? I mean, it was really extreme. Capital was owned by the state, all of it. All the capital was owned by the state and allocated to people. And we've moved away from that, even in communist societies, right? It's no longer like that. And so now it sort of feels like to your point, right? Everybody the capitalist model won the argument, right?
It's the best model we have.
But even the other side came to that conclusion, right? Private ownership of capital is, I think, ubiquitous almost everywhere in the world, maybe with a few exceptions, right?
I think there's probably some big asterisks and limitations in some of those countries. I don't think it's totally free.
I mean, North Korea might be an exception, but on the other hand, if you look at the political systems that we have, there's a huge diversity. There's much more diversity in the political systems that we have than in the economic systems, right? Every society in the world has money, pretty much, right? No society in the world is kind of like Star Trek, which is sort of like a post-money society. Whereas there are theocracies, there are communist countries, there are sort of mainly capitalist societies like America. There are mixed economies, more like in Europe. There are theocracies like Iran. There are
dictatorships, military dictatorships.
Yeah, there are dictatorships. I mean, there's so many, and there isn't a consensus, and historically, new technologies have influenced the course of political events. For example, the printing press and the ability for people to read the Bible for themselves in Europe in their own language, right? And I don't know what it means for our political systems, but I think the implications are absolutely profound, because I'm not sure how I feel about the politicians versus the AI. If the AI is, I don't think that AI is smarter than a lot of people, but I think AI might be smarter than a lot of politicians, and it's not hard. But then are we gonna give AI political power, right? Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden, what do you think about the military strategy should be in the South China Sea? Could you imagine Joe Biden sitting there in the Oval Office and saying, what do we think we should be the military strategy in the South China Sea for the United States? Let's just ask GPT-4, thanks, right? But for real, right? Like that I think, or interest rates, right? The monetary policy at the Federal Reserve Committee, right? What do we think what do we think interest rates should be this month? Just ask the AI, right? So anyway, I don't know any of the answers, but I think it's extremely interesting.
I do want to interject real quick. We do want to get through as many questions as we can so that we can break for more conversations to happen. So we are going to move on to the next question and trying to keep moving through these relatively quickly.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Just before my question, I'm organizing an event around AI autonomous agent combination as a way to achieve AGI. So if anybody wants to be part of it, either as a speaker or either as a participant, feel free to reach out to me, when this ends. I really want to give a quick question about two questions. The first one is, I'm from France, and when I come to US, I felt that the difference basically between US and Europe is like the freedom that we are speaking about in US is a very specific kind of freedom. It's a freedom of culture more than a freedom of thoughts. Because the freedom of thought is very rigid in Europe. And it's not the case in the South, like in India or in Morocco, where I was born. So it's very interesting how the combination of, very advanced cultures then who break free from their culture can bring more potential. There's a dichotomy between creating norms to achieve something and breaking down these norms to achieve more. So I wanted your thoughts. If it's not clear, I can give more details. Also about like the AGI thing. If we are sure that AGI will, and actually the CTO of OpenAI just spoke today, we will achieve AGI for sure. So how do you think we can coexist together? Yeah. For the first question, I can elaborate if you want.
In my experience, GPT-4 perfectly understands different cultural values and can actually predict how different people will react very easily. And you can actually test it yourself. Since there's a cutoff date on the training for GPT-4, you can ask it about what does it think, how the world would react on AI, for example. And you can ask how would different geos react, how would people in Canada, in the US, in Europe, and in China behave with the discovery of AI. It's a good test, right? Because we can actually see what it does. And you will, when you do that, it actually gets it pretty much spot on how different cultures will behave with AI, right? The whole GDPR and, the attitudes to the US, it just gets it. It's crazy.
Anyone else want to answer the coexistence question?
Oh, the coexistence with AGI? Honestly, I have no idea how it might pan out, honestly. But maybe someone has an imagination. The problem is that, this is a singularity. We never experienced this. Because it's going to be a new species, pretty much, right? That has its own values. But, yeah.
I have a prediction that we will keep on moving the goalposts. Right, I mean, we'll be sitting here with like data, literally sitting here talking to us, and we'll be having a conversation with data, speculating about what AGI would be like in the future, right? Because it seems that nothing is ever good enough to qualify as AGI.
All right, we're going to do last two questions right back here, and then we'll be breaking for the evening. But again, no one has to go home. Welcome to continue conversations, but we do want to wrap this up and let the panelists off the stage so that they can be on their feet for a second.
Hey, thanks, guys. Just on the question of AI for governance, like corporate or in the federal government, for example, how do we keep AI accountable? I mean, like part of the reason you have a CEO is that there's a fall person when something bad happens, and you switch up the CEO, and now you have some confidence that things are going to change. So in the AGI world, how do you switch up the AI at the helm?
So in Silicon Valley, we often think technology solves a lot of problems, right? You can invent something and so on. In the real world, it's mostly policies, right? Somebody needs to make a policy to do something to convince a whole bunch of people to do stuff, right? So you can actually use AI to help you develop policies. It's actually very easy. And the reason why it's useful is that a lot of our global problems are just so complicated and intertwined that humans just don't get it right. It's sort of like economists, you know, we joke that they're going to say something happens and something completely different happens, right? It's complicated, right? Because the AI doesn't have the working memory limitations of humans, it can actually work on much more complicated problems. It can actually create sensible proposals, for example, of global problems we have. I've actually worked on that on all sorts of policy issues. You can actually very easily do this. The challenge is you need a way to convince humans to actually follow these policies, right? So everyone has to agree to something, and that is where the problem is. It's a matter of influence. The AI is perfectly happy to come up with all sorts of solutions to problems we have, but the humans are the problem.
How about Atal and Tatyana? Do you want to weigh in on this either?
Sorry, I just want one little comment still about AGI and politics. Have you ever seen the Ontology Love, Death and Robots by Netflix? Anyone? Yeah, so there is one episode about yogurt taking over politics. Yeah, so that's pretty much like, you should see this movie. It's really funny. And it speculates on what would happen when AGI takes over world politics. So that's the homework.
The homework.
Yes.
For
It's such a great question.
Yeah,
so
let's pass the mic down to the end.
Yes.
Thank you. we do want to wrap this up relatively quickly.
I'm just going to add that was such a good point. As we are reaching into this AI agents kind of theory where agents are going to solve a lot of workflows and going to support humans. Now, in the end, we are still talking about humans as either coexisting with AI, right? Or humans having AI as assistant. And in that case, what I see happening is we always see policies changing, but the challenge is policies change years to change because of how complicated it is. It comes down to persuasion. But I feel like it would be easier and faster to change policy based on the needs of the society, based on the needs of different countries and communities, because of how AI can assist and provide logical arguments. And then let's say other people, other policymakers also would have arguments on their side, which improves the dialogue in a community on a lot more coherency, which can lead to better and faster outcomes. So that's where I see a lot of this change happening on the political and federal level.
Tatyana, did you want to add anything?
We are just expressing our thoughts, but in fact, nobody knows what will happen. It's my opinion. Let's just do something and tune prompts, try GPT, learn about its features. So I'm more about practice, and I'm a doer rather than thinker. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a philosopher. I'm just entrepreneur, and I use it every day, and I like it. What happened next years? I don't know.
All right, last question.
So tonight I have been thinking a lot about the words that Hess spoke earlier, that in the future is going to be less about being told what to do and doing what we are told, and more so about knowing what should be done and the questions that should be asked. And I believe we can all agree that we cannot all be CEOs. There's not enough capital to go around. There's not enough ideas that are sensible to execute simultaneously in our society. So as someone that has a more technical background, right? Somewhere more like Alexander, for instance, how do we bridge the gap? Because the technical middle class that we grow used to is dying. And right now, there is the CEOs, there is the high-end people from executive jobs, and then there's the people doing deliveries and frying burgers. And the bridge that used to be there for social mobility is disappearing. How do we use all those learning tools to make ourselves more useful in organizations as someone that tells what needs to be asked to others and be listened to?
So I have a software background, research background, so I sort of exactly know where you come from. And I also think that, okay, AI is probably me coding Python and stuff like that, just that's gone, right? So what should I be doing? And I discovered that I can actually do all sorts of other things. So for example, I worked a little bit with the city of Mountain View on policies for light pollution. Okay, so here's the problem. A lot of problems in humanity needs to be solved with policies, right? It's not technology, right? But, as Atal said, to get laws passed and stuff like that takes an incredible amount of time. I mean, you just know how long it takes it can take thousands of people to work on one piece of legislation to get it passed, right? It's just incredibly tedious to do all this stuff. So what happens, for example, in cities all over the world, there are lots of policies that could be changed, but there's nobody working on it. For example, light pollution, of course, a lot of people want to work on it. Noise levels, all these things. You, as a techie, can actually work on these things. You can actually switch areas and start contributing and helping cities all over the world to better things, to work on transport problems, work on pollution, on things like, I don't know, I worked on projects where, really crazy stuff. As a group that's trying to actually create high altitude balloons that with AI in them, but the problem is that there's this TAR laws in the US. Essentially it's export controlled because there's some things in the balloon that's not allowed to fly outside of the US. So it's a complicated area, but I can help these people designing these balloons to figure out how they're going to pass the TAR regulations, right? You can literally start working on anything you want. It's just limited by your curiosity. And I think that's the funny thing, is just pick something that you're interested in and see if you can work on it, right?
I think the natural question that comes out of it, how I'm going to make as much money as I'm making in tech from this new job that I'm looking at. And I think it's possible that you are not going to make as much money in that policy role that you are taking on the side. But you know what I think I'm trying to say, or what Hans is trying to say, is once you see that door open and you are able to create some value in that area, the value would be appreciated by the society in some form, and that value would be in, let's say, some monetary terms. And down the line, you will learn about another area, which is policy outside of your tech area. And then you becoming an expert in both of these, and you might be able to figure out a lot more new edge cases where you can create products, or where you can see the vision that a lot of people can't see, because no one has experienced life in ways you have experienced by being in these two areas. And that's how you just keep pushing forward and figuring out, okay, what is the next door? And I think that's just how most of the innovators have done. No one knew what is the final thing at the end, but they kept moving one step at a time, and they kept seeing that, okay, this is another area which kind of is adds to my curiosity, and I want to move forward. And they kept moving, and then they built great companies.
I think in the future there will be less jobs that are like, let's say, generic software development, right? And there will be more. You would have to just find your own competitive edge that is on the edge of a few different areas. So not just software development, but combined with domain knowledge in certain area. And just the more unique profile you can create, the better for you. I can just give you a simple example. Like, there are at least 100,000 active neuroscientists in a job market. There's a society for neuroscience that has over 100,000 members, and there are at least as many career advisors, but I have never met anyone else who would be analyzing the job market as a neuroscientist. And just a simple example that I know best because it's my own example. But I think in the future this will be the direction, that we all have to find our own combination that is making us unique and create. So that's a mastery in career development, not only create a position. So first level is like find a job, right? Second level of mastery is like create yourself a new position. So for instance, persuade someone to create a position for you. But the highest mastery level is create a profession that didn't exist before, because it's exactly what your unique edge is, and that there's nobody else that can do this job, just you. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything else before we close?
I'd like to answer the question of the young man who just went off to the bathroom. So, I don't know if
do you want to catch him afterwards?
No.
He's not here.
Yeah, let's catch up with him afterwards. Yeah. All right, thank you everyone for coming tonight. If we can have one more round of applause for our panelists as well as our audience members. Again, please stay around, have great conversations, enjoy your time at Hacker Dojo. Please come back and join us for future events, and really appreciate all of you coming out tonight. Thank you very much.